Article 10. Marriage abroad. Marriage between Filipino citizen abroad can be solemnized by Philippine consular officials. Consular officials perform duties similar to local civil registrars, insurance of marriage license handed by consular officials. So this article refers to a provision in legal frameworks that address the recognitions of foreign marriages in the context of international law or national law. Article often pertains to the validity rather of marriage conducted abroad and the conditions under which such marriage are recognized in a given country. So Article 2, marriage license requirements. So here are some of the requirements of marriages. Each conducting party files a sworn application, detailed requirement, the full name, birthplace, age, and civil status, etc. Parents or guardians, informations for minors, residence certificates are not required. So refers to a specific, so this article refers to a specific sections of law that outlines the requirements for obtaining the marriage license, while the details may vary depending on the jurisdiction of the country, states, or region. So Article 2 is used in legal codes to designate a part of the law and address the official procedures for legal matters po.
Good morning, ma'am. So, I am Blessed Belencion. I am the reporter of Group 3 in the HE 315. So, my topic is Article 12, Birth and Baptismal Certificates. So, applicants must present original or certified copies of birth or baptismal certificates. Alternatives, in case of distraction or unavailability, sworn declaration with witness, parental affirmation with or visual assessment by the registrar for age verification. So sa Article 12 ay nagbibigay diin sa kalagahan ng birth certificate o baptismal certificate. So, bilang patunay ng pagkakakinlanlan at edad ng isang tao. So, karaniwan, hinihiling ang mga dokumentong ito sa mga formal na proseso tulad ng pag-enroll sa paaralan, pag-apply ng trabaho, o mga transaksyon sa gobyerno. Pero binibigyan din ng Article 12 ng solusyon ang mga kaso kung saan ang mga dokumento ito ay hindi maibigay dahil sa pagkasira, pagkawala o kawalan ng records. So, ito ang mga alternatibo. Yeah. Number 1 is ang sworn declaration with witness. So, dito, gumagawa ng formal na affidavit o sinumpaang salaysay at aplikante na pinapatunayan ng mga saksi. So, ang mga saksi ay na magpapatunay sa edad o pagkakakilanlan ng aplikante batay sa kanilang personal na kaalaman. So, next is ang parental affirmation. So, kung walang official na dokumento, maaaring kumpirmahin ng mga magulang ang edad o pagkakakilanlan ng kanilang mga anak. So, ang mga magulang ay tinuturi na pangunahing makakapagbigay ng tamang impormasyon tungkol sa kanilang mga anak. So, next is visual assessment by the registrar. So, ito ay maaaring suriin ng registrar ang physical na aplikante at tansyahin ang edad nito. So, hindi ito insaktong paraan pero maaaring gamitin kung talagang walang ibang patunay na makuha. So, ang mga layunin ng mga alternatibong ito ay upang matiyak na hindi mawawalan ng pagkakataon ng isang tao o maiwanan sa serbisyo kahit wala silang opisyal na dokumento.
Good morning, leaders. I am Zena May Daria, the third reporter, and I'll be sharing to you about the EO number 209, Family Code of the Philippines, article number 13. It is all about the previous marriages. If previously married, provide a death certificate, judicial decree of annulment or divorce. If unavailable, submit an affidavit with details of the deceased spouse. Ibig sabihin nito is, kung dati ka ng kasal at gusto mo magpakasal pa, magbigay ng sertipiko ng kamatayan ng iyong kabiyak or judicial decree or halimbawa annulment certificate or divorce certificate. Kung wala nito, magsumiti ng isang salaysay na may mga detalye tungkol sa yumao mong asawa. So, mostly sa mga ito is available talaga ang certificate of or death certificate sa mga NSOs, and yung annulment naman hindi naman siya and divorce hindi pa siya dito available sa Pilipinas, pero outside in the Philippines is available na siya. Ito yung mga certificate na kinakailangan mo kung gusto mo pa ulit magpakasal. Thank you and God bless.
Good morning, leaders. This is Geraldine Obelio from Group 3. So my topic is all about the parental consent and the parental advice. So for parental consent, we have here Article 14 on the Family Code of the Philippines, 1987. And this Article 14, parental consent, pertains to marriages where parental consent is required. It states that in case either or both of the contracting parties are between the ages of 18 and 21, they shall be required to secure the consent of their parents or guardian manifested in writing to be attached to the marriage license application. And parental consent is mandatory for individuals aged 18 to 21 intending to marry. The consent must be in writing and included as part of the marriage license application. Without this written consent, the application for marriage license may be denied, potentially invalidating the marriage process. This provision ensures that young individuals consult their parents or guardians before committing to marriage. However, it becomes unnecessary once the individual reaches the age of 22 or older, where only legal capacity and other standard requirements apply. And then for the next, Article 15 of the Family Code of the Philippines, 1987, addresses the requirement of parental advice for marriage in certain cases. It states that any contracting parties between the ages of 21 and 25 shall be obliged to ask their parents or guardian for parental advice. If such advice is refused or not obtained, the marriage license shall not be issued until after 3 months following the completion of the publication of application for the license. This applies individuals aged 21 to 25. So this is for parental advice. So this parental advice, it is not as binding as parental consent, but is also a formal requirement. The advice may be given orally or in writing. if advice is not refused or obtained according to this article, the marriage license application proceeds but is delayed for 3 months after the required publication of the application. And then the purpose of this is to ensure that parents or guardians are consulted in decision-making process but respect the independence of the individuals over 21 years old. This provision reflects a balance between parental involvement and the autonomy of the adult children.
Article 16 states that a counseling certificate is required when a parental consent or advice is necessary for marriage. So this certificate must be issued by an authorized priest, imam, or minister or licensed counselor. The purpose of this requirement is to ensure that couples receive proper guidance and understanding before marriage, especially when parental involvement is needed. So if the couple fails to comply and does not secure the certificate, the issuance of their marriage license will be delayed for 3 months. So this rules aims to promote a responsible decision making and preparation for marriage, ensuring couples understand the commitment they are entering to.
Good morning, everyone. Article 17 of the Family Code of the Philippines discusses the publication of the marriage licenses. According to this article, the local civil registrar is responsible for preparing a notice that contains the full names and residences of the applicants for marriage license, along with the other relevant data from their applications. So this notice is then posted on the bulletin board outside the local civil registrar office for 10 consecutive days. Ang purpose daw nito is para ipaalam sa publiko ang nalalapit na kasal at imbitahan ang mga may kaalaman sa anumang hadlang sa kasal na magpahayag sa local service registrar office. So after 10 days of publication period, ibinibigay na ang marriage license unless a competent court orders otherwise due to an impediment. Ang Article 18 of the Family Code of the Philippines naman is tumatalakay sa mga hadlang sa kasal. Ang mga sumusunod ay ang mga hadlang. Una, kasal na umiiral. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang isang taong mayroon ng umiiral na kasal. Number 2, consanguinity. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang taong magkamag-anak like magkakapatid, magulang at anak. Number 3 is affinity. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang mga taong may kaugnayan sa pamamagitan ng pag-aasawa o kaugnayan ng kasal. Ito ay tumutukoy sa relasyon sa pagitan ng mga taong nagkakasal at ang kanilang mga kamag-anak sa pamamagitan ng kasal. Ang halimbawa ay, ang asawa ng iyong pinsan ay ang iyong kaugnayan sa pamamagitan ng kasal. Or, ang mga biyanan at hipag ay ang mga halimbawa ng affinity. So, sa number 5, adaptasyon. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang mga taong nagkasundo sa pamamagitan ng adaptasyon. Number 6, mental incapacitation. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang isang taong may mental incapacitation or walang kakayahan sa pag-iisip. Ang number 7, pang-aabuso. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang taong may kasaysayan ng pang-aabuso sa kanyang dating kasal o mga anak. Next is bigamy. Hindi maaaring magpakasal ang isang taong mayroon ng asawa na nabubuhay at ang panghuli is prior marriage, still subsisting. Hindi pwedeng magpakasal ang taong may previous marriage na di pa annulled. And yun lang po. Thank you.